This week's episode is a replay of episode 1, where I talk about the vision for this podcast and invite you to be part of the journey with me. Well, welcome everybody. My name's Mark Burlinson, and this is the very first episode of the Communication Mastery podcast. And in our time together, what I want to do is this kind of ribbon-cutting opening episode is to tell you what the vision is for this podcast and why it's going to be helpful to you. Because communication is so vital, but yet so misunderstood. And as I've been working as a communication coach, I've seen the need again and again for people to be able to grow their communication mastery, which is why I wanted to start this podcast. And I hope you'll join me on the journey as we learn to grow our communication skill and as we learn different factors that will help us to communicate more effectively. One of the phrases I like to use a lot is we need to build bridges and not boxes. And that's a lot of what we're going to focus on together is what can I do to connect with people who are different from me? And so that rather than causing division or exacerbating differences, I can turn differences into strengths and build stronger relationships, whether it's in business or in social life or in our own families. All of those ways we're going to look at what communication can do for us because it's so vital. I love to say that communication is the oxygen of teamwork. And we all know that whether we're working in a team in a business or whether it's a team in some social activity, maybe you've got a social club or a homeowners association, any of those team settings, until we can communicate with one another more effectively, too often we'll miss what the other's trying to say or we'll misunderstand. And then there's all this work involved in trying to get back on track, trying to recover what we lost because we couldn't communicate. I looked up some statistics, and the studies show us that ineffective communication loses us about 1 in every 5 work days in the average business. That's a terrible thing to have happen. 75% of business leaders said that they've experienced the cost of ineffective communication. They and their team spend way too much time resolving communication issues and misunderstandings. The consulting firm McKinsey did a study, and they said that during the great attrition, the great resignation that came after the pandemic, most of it stemmed from a great disconnect. People were leaving because they didn't feel connected to the teams they were working with. That's a terrible thing to happen, and I want to do something to change that. And I'm glad that you're listening to this so that you can be part of that movement too. When we've been looking at remote work, that just highlights any deficiencies in our communication skills. But I've got a lot of stuff to show you that will help us, even in remote settings, to be able to communicate more effectively. Because effective communication is what really drives both business value, but also I work a lot with nonprofits, and their mission is so often dependent on how well they can communicate. And so I've got things I want to show you as we go into future episodes of how we can build our communication skills. I saw a study that said that 89% of business leaders said that communication is one of the most underrated professional skills. And when I work with businesses, the reaction I get most of the time is, hey, I can use this at home as well. And so I see a double help in this focus in the Communication Mastery podcast, where you'll learn something you can use in your work life, but you can use it at home as well. And people come back to me again and again and say, you know what, this has made all the difference. Let me tell you a little story. When I first started communication coaching, I realized I'd been asking my wife the wrong question for about 25 years. I would ask her, what do you think about what we are about to decide or some important choice we have to make? And she could never tell me what she thought. And this frustrated the heck out of me because surely she should know what she thinks. But we did this profile together, and I realized that her primary wiring was more a feeling wiring than a thinking wiring. And so when I understood that, I simply changed the question, and I would ask her, what do you feel about this? Or how do you feel about this? And straight away, she can tell me the answer now. It's made all the difference. That's about 10 years ago now, but our marriage has been so much stronger as a result of that. Imagine what that could do for you, whether it's at work or at home or in your friend circle, if you knew how to connect with the people you're trying to connect with more effectively and more deeply. One more statistic that I wanted to show you. There was a study done by the firm Harris for Grammarly. You may have seen the Grammarly app on the internet that you can use to improve your writing, Well, Harris did a study for them called The State of Business Communication. They estimated the total cost of ineffective communication to be $1.2 trillion annually, just here in the US, because of the costs of repairing miscommunication. And if you think in your own life, when you have a relational disconnect with somebody, always asking, what went wrong? How did I mishandle that? What could I have done better? And so together we're going to look at ways in this podcast that you can learn not just the art of communication, but the science as well, because there is a science to it. And when we can grasp the science, that gives us the tools we need to be able to communicate more effectively with one another. I'm all about that because I want people to know that they can build bridges and not be separated. Communication doesn't have to be mysterious. It doesn't have to be out of reach. Even if you've experienced misunderstanding in all kinds of settings, even if you find communication difficult, we can help as we look forward together here, because we're going to take one or two things each month, one or two podcasts each month, each one with its own specific takeaway that will give you a tool that you can use right away in your own life, in whatever setting it may be. So I hope you'll come with me to do that. I don't want you to feel like you're wasting your time. I want you to feel like you can get easy results quickly by listening to this. We're going to keep it short, less than 30 minutes to each episode. And in between episodes, you can reach me with your feedback, your questions, topics you'd like me to address, that kind of thing. My website is very easy to remember. It's markburlinson.com. And so you can reach me through that on the contact form. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. So that's our goal for this journey together. Now, so let me give you a takeaway that can help you right away with communication. You're already doing it, in fact, by listening to this podcast. And that is that you can't gain communication mastery on your own. You can't grow your communication skill alone. It's not something you can do simply by watching YouTube videos or reading online. You need to be able to practice with other people. You need someone who can help you. And I'd love to be that person, of course, but you also need someone you can practice with. And so what I want to suggest to you as a practical step first off here is find somebody else that you want to grow communication with. Somebody who will partner with you, that you can learn together, and you can learn some of these things. Share this podcast with them. They can work with you. You can give each other feedback. You can get the benefit of your interaction as you grow your communication mastery, as you increase your communication skills, and as we walk forward together with this. So in the next episode, I want to give you a little bit of the backstory of why I'm doing this and why I'm so passionate about communication. It comes out of my own life story. But for this time, find yourself someone who can accept your mistakes without judgment, someone who will encourage you in your progress. Partner with them, and let's do this journey together. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It would mean a lot to me if you'd rate and review the podcast so it helps more listeners to find us. But also, would you give me your feedback on things you'd like to hear about in future episodes? And remember to share the episode with a friend if you see something that would benefit them as well. You can reach me with feedback through my website at markburlinson.com. Just click on the contact button and send me a message. I respond to everyone personally, and I really want to hear from you. So thank you again for listening, sharing, reviewing, and giving me your feedback.